welcome back to another Analysis with Bro. I'm your lovely host, Bro, giving you the latest in all things analyzations, and today we're not going to do an analysis. It is a tea talk, special tea talk episode. We're going to talk about headcanons today. Now, with headcanons, here's the thing, some general ground rules. This means that we're talking about hypotheticals, what ifs, pretty much stuff that does not exactly align with the canon, but is a pretty strong hypothetical of what might be possible for a character. So we are just going to have some fun today. We're going to take some healthy guesses as to what this character's life might be like, or some things that this character might do. Not theory-based at all. We're not going to be as, deep in the manga as we typically are. Today, we're just going to have some fun. So let's talk all about Illumi's personal thoughts, marriage, things that align with married life, essentially. Let's get started with that, shall we, ladies, gentlemen, and enemies alike. All right. So Illumi's future with his marriage might look like one in which the offhanded comment that was pretty much about him being a manager, a sports manager specifically. We'll get more so into that when we do talk about that life in Unit 3 with Azote's adulthood. But for right now, imagine that being an actual possibility for this character and that becoming a reality. All right, put your thinking caps on, put them on, because that's what we're doing. It's like, okay, what if this character pretty much deviates away from being an assassin or slowly weans out a bit and starts to pretty much bring in something new. So with that being a complete possibility for this character, it brings in a new reality. With Illumi either having partial or full investment into whatever his career might end up looking like, we'll have to see with the whole Rules of Heaven's arena if there's a possible return or something else happens, like say coaching as a possibility. We'll have to see. But that all being within the realm of essentially sports entertainment, seeing what that looks like, what would that be for him to be kind of an in-home manager, right? So a life in which bloodshed is partially away, obviously, with the lifestyle in which being an assassin, it's like it's still gonna have like weird people following you. So it's never gonna leave per se, even if you want to. Number two, pretty much what his fiance is like. It's not like bloodshed's gonna go completely away, considering the nature of his fiance, which is Azote in the matter. So yeah, the bloodshed part is never gonna 100% go away, but rather it's probably gonna be more so slowed down. So this brings also a new perspective into mind, seeing how, because it's slowed down, how are we pretty much going to integrate and involve ourselves in life that way for him, and how essentially that will look like, right? Just kind of having everything being slightly slowed down. I think because of that, from an emotional standpoint, we can also look into the new focus and mindset, which is essentially, to put it very simply, building kind of his own version of a family, right? His own version of an idyllic lifestyle, considering that with his family right now, his immediate family, things, as we discussed within his analysis, are a little bit chaotic. All right, I'm putting chaotic a little bit very loose. I would say a lot chaotic, right? So essentially being like, you know what? I need a fresh start. I need to start over. Now, I did also discuss this with him being loyal to Killua. How this would look like is vastly different from his brother, all right? It's not going to be as dramatic. It's going to be a lot more subtle for him. So this might look like essentially, instead of being like, I want to explore the world, do all these other things. For him, it'd be like, yeah, sure, exploring the world, great. But I kind of just want to lay low, right? So now it's the reverse, where it's like, I want to lay low. Right? I want to slowly wean out of it and just kind of relax type thing. It's like, there are signs, even within the beginning, canonically speaking, where it's like, this person is on the road to retire. Right? Because I speak from personal experience from past jobs that I've had, where it's like, I feel really, really tired of this job, this close to quitting, and then I do. Now, everybody's different, but for the most part, everybody also has their limit. And there might come a day where it's like, for this character, it might be leaning either slightly or completely into domestic life. Um, and there are plenty of indications, such as personality-wise, why that might be more so the case, how familial life might still be something that's strong, but now it's just focused on something else. So instead of having complete focus, this part is mostly canonical way, having complete focus on his brother, now it's kind of leaning more so into his fiance. So now the focus is just changing, right? Instead of having a brother higher, all this other stuff, now it's just kind of like, what's my fiance? Now this part, again, is most of the time, because we start seeing that pattern and seeing that shift even within the story. So now we're just thinking, what if it's like that all the time? Like, what if the shift goes from, let's say, 50, 40, 50% up to pretty much 80, 90, probably close to 100, being like, okay, I want to try and essentially build this life with this person. Now, I would say, with that being the case, that, well, so yeah, what if that shift just ends up being there like kind of all the time? What that might end up looking, at least from a emotional standpoint, is kind of this, again, shift to, I gotta make sure that my siblings are aligned with their role. Now my focus is on my fiance and what that new life might look like. There's a high possibility that a typical relationship is not something that this character's experienced at all. So being like, this is my first time. I'm a relationship newborn. I don't know if that's the right thing to say, but we're gonna say it now. Relationship newborn. So it's like, what's that like? And you just had to pick one of the most chaotic men. To be fair, not my first round with, this kind of character who is very much so surface level, even though you dive deeper and like they have an inner chaos too, but at least from surface level is more calmer, and picking someone that's a lot more chaotic, even with like my musical example of Eliza versus with Hamilton, where it's like things are a bit more, chaotic on Alexander's end, versus with Eliza, where it's more toned down. Maybe she has an inner chaos too, right? So it does work out, it does align, but surface level, you would have never thought that. Hell, we can even go back down to childhood with like essentially Fluttershy and Discord, right? All the way back to like that was my childhood back in the day. But like these kinds of couples are not new. Where you see one where it's like, the only question that's going on in your mind is, out of all the men in the world, him? You sure, girl? Seems like a lot. Because it is a lot. It's a lot. It's not even a little bit. It's, woo, you picked a challenge. And I guess that's what you're into. Is your man. Have fun. Expect mess, though. That's the one thing I will say. Maybe it's the confidence that attracted you. I don't know. But let's go back to essentially, Illumi, the new focus is, again, on building and exploring, essentially. So with that comes new anxieties, new levels of stress, because it will be the only way. Anxieties and trauma, past life, probably coming back and arising. There might be different scenes in which, again, my fanfic girl can explore, in which those traumas might arise, even a domestic one. There is already one fanfic that I feel like explores that the best. Maybe I'll recommend it down in the comments. We'll see. But that was a good example of how I imagine that to hypothetically happen, where it's like even trying to live life normally, those traumas will not leave. Okay, we're talking severe traumas will not leave. So even simple tasks might be deemed a bit more on the difficult end. Those flashbacks, they'd be flashing and they'd be bad. Okay, I don't think this has been explored yet, but if there is a hypothetical in which this character like completely retires, or is like I'm kind of done with assassination completely, let's say that's something that happens. I've left this to be unexplored, but somebody could explore. It's like maybe people from that life, victims, if you will, from assassination. This is like explored kind of, sort of, but not from the perspective of I'm completely out of the business, right? So it's like people following you around because of that, maybe clients following you around still, right? Because with assassination, a couple TV shows that I don't remember the names of, but there have been a couple of TV shows that have explored this possibility. And hell, even with like Spy Kids, I remember they had one movie in which the mom decided, or the parents, mom and or parents decided to retire out of that life. But that life, in a way, still follows it. It doesn't 100% leave. So essentially exploring that dynamic with this particular character being like, I'm done, but the life ain't done with you, right? Because in a way you kind of did, not by choice, mind you, this character was just kind of born into it. So leaving will be basically having your family. The possibility of maybe I would have to change my name, my last name, right? To my fiance's. Like, do not fiancés, but still being connected in a way because of that. But now it's just like, I'm going to involve myself in my fiance's life completely, which for this particular character would not be out of left field. I'm not going to say that that's the healthiest way to go about things, but for this character, that might be the most reasonable, realistic way to go about things. So just kind of disappearing slightly, but still having that life follow you, having the traumas follow you, everything that comes with that. It's going to be a mess. I would also say from the emotional standpoint, the insecurities might look a little similar, but obviously a lot darker than with his brother, that being Killua, them being parallels, foils to each other, seeing how essentially the adult version of those emotions kind of arise, right? Those insecurities kind of arise, seeing how that would is also something that is totally something to look into for this particular headcanon when it comes to married/domestic life. And yeah, I feel like that's all I really have to say for now. There will be a 1.2 in which we talk about the hypothetical family building and what that might look like if we ever go down that route as well. We have everything explored, and I'm going to call this a great analysis. I will see you guys next time. Well.